As I go on my trips and journeys, the path must continue, no matter where the time takes me. Don't nothing change. The divine black body must come forth. And in all places where you see a representation of reclaiming, but also acknowledging, you get small pockets of whatever that just pop up in the most unusual places. So some thought I might have a hard road, a hard journey. It ain't looking good, it ain't going and popping. Not for what I do and the walk that I take. I taught that black man is more than God. I taught that divine body. I taught that you don't need to eat every day, 3 days, and even a week, if you can do it. But I also speak the scourge to black folks' existence is white people. I once was in a place where wherever black people were, white people came in droves, and then the black people dispersed. Now I'm in places where wherever the black people are, the white people leave. It's almost a fantasy, unbelievable, but it is what it is. So yo, when I see the exaltation of understanding the atrocities of the Black Holocaust, really what that is the declaration or the outcry. Where are the ones that are going to show us our black divinity? Where are those that are going to show us our black salvation? In the flesh, no story, no piece of paper, as is. They all over the net, they all over here. We see them, but we never see them. Meaning, a picture, a movie, a script, a myth about niggas who's nice like that, but never amongst you. Here I be, amongst you, to prove the point that we out here. And we out here with our people, for our people. So it was easy for me to talk that when I had 1,000 people, and I can always bump into someone who was looking. But now I'm in the desolate lands where the cars drive. That foot patrol ain't the same, but that foot patrol is the same, because I get the same results no matter where. No matter where, it's all the same. It's only different when you think it's different. But miraculous things keep happening the same way they used to happen before. What do we have here? We have, what do we have here? Let's take another look. What do we have here? Looking kind of crazy. What do we have here? We got the lynching of William Miller. What did it say? Because I'm going to show you a picture and don't read it. In this spot in August 1908, a group of white men took William Miller from his Brighton, Alabama jail cell in the middle of the night and lynched him in the woods nearby from this spot. Mr. Miller was a black leader advocating for better labor conditions in the coal mines when he was arrested on false charges of violence. Now, you can say looking out for the black. Remember, this was a time when black folks were doing black things. So yeah, he was looking out for the black. Let's keep it real. Some of you people don't want to say that. And be like, oh, just looking out for those who weren't good enough or those who needed it. Nah, we're going to keep this real. The black. And I'm here representing the black so you don't get it twisted. When we don't stand up and represent ours and what they meant, our shit get taken. Lynching is something that's associated with slaves. Our people stood up as warriors, so forth and so forth, advocates or for or just outright, you ain't stepping to us white folks, back it down. However you want to call it. They stood up in the name of blackness. When we don't exalt them as they stood up in the name of blackness and start talking about they stood up for everybody and they stood up for this, you're full of shit. You're the worst kind of trader. You don't just trade, you turn around and change up your own people who fought so that you could even stand strong to be a trader. So yeah, this is the time of lynching. Lynching is associated with slavery, but this is not during slavery. In a grand place called the Slave Theater, which stood in the name of blackness, because it's black traders, just like the ones I just mentioned, who got their foothold strong when black warriors standing in the name of blackness came forth and gave them proper position. Now after the fact, niggas want to hate on the same niggas that gave them the ability to stick their face out in the first place. Then all of a sudden it ain't black no more. It's just for the people who was working. It's just for the people, whatever. But to say it's black or say they strong and black, oh, now it's watered down coffee. I'm about to start cursing. I'm not, but I do feel like it. When you're talking about traders, you can't help it. So like I said, Mr. Miller was a black leader advocating for better labor conditions in the coal mines, because we're talking about industry now. Now we're talking about jobs. When you're talking about jobs and bread, that's when people wind up dead, because people want that cake. Coal mining in Alabama began with the use of slave labor in the 1840s. And I was just talking about slaves, ain't that so? The industry boomed in the late 1800s as Birmingham became the Magic City. But after slavery was abolished, coal companies' success depended on the labor of black workers forced into bondage through convict leasing, notorious schemes where tens of thousands of black people were arrested for trivial offenses and then leased to private companies who worked them mercilessly. So now we're talking about the prison industrial complex and the high school to prison pipeline and all of that stuff. That you niggas is weak as fuck. Oh, like I told you, you can't have a real conversation if some cursing don't happen. Weak ass niggas. This is talking about the time of lynching and slavery, but this is no different than today, the year 2000, and after the year 2000, because this is not 2000. Still, that system is in place, and that system is doing our children dirty. In Jefferson County, leased convicts and poorly paid black miners posed a threat to white laborers seeking higher pay. And there were efforts to organize labor unions. See, now them white folks, they like, yo, these black folks is hitting our pockets, they coming through. Now this is back to the days of slavery when they was coming off of them slave conditions, and they can get bread. So now before they was working with a beating, they was getting paid by a beating. Now they actually get paid with actual money, when before they was taking a beat. Real talk, this shit is real like that. I'm not here to water down nothing ever. So yeah, you know what I'm saying, white folks and they bullshit. They need to cover their back, so they ain't got no problem slaying you when that pops up. But when you need to cover your black back, you can't help your own. You can't stand strong with your own. You stand strong until something else looks good, and then you just sold out the family. Traitors. Despite the workers' common interest, the sight of formerly enslaved people challenging labor practices presented a threat to the existing racial hierarchy that many whites would not tolerate. Basically what I just said. White folks, no, to the black folks who want to say, well, it was working to help everybody who needs a hand up on the jobs. Even the white folks are like, the hell with you. Listen, I don't care what's going on. I'd rather be a slave and get nothing and think I'm better than your black ass than to sit there and have a better life while sitting in my mind thinking I'm equal to you. That's white folks. That's that racial hierarchy. That's that the labor. It's a common interest for both, but nah, not if y'all equal. That's why I told you, messing with white folks, leave them alone. It ain't no good. Only a subservient idiot would even partake of such madness. There ain't no benefit in it. Oh, my man dropped the load. See, now that's what I'm talking about. When you're hating on your own and you keep it moving, you drop that load. Then you just pissed off. Cause you're like, why me? Why I ain't balling? Nigga, because you wasn't down with your peoples. Traitor ass. You deserve to be balled on. Mr. Miller's lynching was an act of racial terror intent to discourage challenges to the existing racial order in Alabama's industrial and agricultural economies. In other words, you black niggas gonna always be slaves when it comes to our business. All of that other happy time bull crap, whatever. But when when we start talking about this business, you niggas gonna always be slaves. My basketball niggas, you gonna always be slaves. My football niggas, you gonna always be slaves. My acting ass niggas, you act. You put on a goddamn act and then go out and be the same ass clowns that they talk about in the movies. That's oxymoronic. For you to be a black hero and then walk around in real life as the sucker. Or you do empty shit that doesn't bring anything forth. So we walking in the same circle. Same circle. Same circle. The man Chris Rock made a movie actually making a joke about how if he put forth a movie on the great history of the Haitian Revolution, meaning black folks was handling theirs, niggas wouldn't even want to see it. They would come out the movie pissed off. And the one thing about that is that some of the people didn't even get that point, and they thought it was a movie about jokes and hard times. Like, you had a good career and now it's not so good. The whole movie was based on you can't teach niggas shit. Nothing that's real. So there we go again. I need to repeat that. Mr. Miller's lynching was an act of racial terrorism intended to discourage challenges to the existence racial order in Alabama's industrial and agricultural economies. You need to just erase out Alabama and just say white folks. That's what the sign is talking about. White folks versus black folks. Now, that's the lynching of Mr. Miller. Taken from a jail over here. Oh, on this spot. This is the spot. So when I told you in darkness we trust, we're going to take those trips and see some things. Like I showed you the white church with the graveyard that's filled up with nothing but Tekkens. The symbolic representation of the black man's penis. I'm going to take you on the journey. And I'm not going to water nothing down when I tell you how ironic the bullshit is. Oh, my bad. I said erase Alabama and just put white folks. Well, damn, they made the sign proper because now we lynchings in America. We went from lynching of what's his name to just lynchings in America, period. So now this probably just says everything that I just spoke. What we got here? Like I said, it's your boy, the Crazy Stick Man Penis Cane, just in case you forgot or did not know. Of course you ain't forget. If you met me, you know who it is. There ain't no substitute and ain't nobody strong enough to be a substitute. Not with my name in their mouth. Lynchings in America. Thousands of black people were the victims of lynching and racial violence in the United States between 1877 and 1950. So we're not talking about a long time ago, fam. The lynchings of African Americans during this era was a form of racial terrorism intended to intimidate black people and enforce racial hierarchies and segregation. See now, that racial terrorism, that's at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if you niggas think you are more than God, If you niggas think you are more than white folks' imagination, and if you think you niggas are more than white folks, we need to let you know. We can still bully your ass. That's why you need warriors. That's why you have to understand the concept of death don't mean nothing. That's why you have to understand your real culture. You don't scare warriors with death. And you didn't scare most of any cultures with death. That's a phenomenon that the white folks have used and somehow made it happen. Because they killed off the warriors and raised bitches. Because death ain't no threat to a warrior. To enforce a hierarchy that you bow down to some recessive people, stinky people, the most worst example of good. That's what they are. They the worst example. You're supposed to bow down to them. Yeah, right. And segregation. Man, listen. We need a healthy dose of segregation. A healthy dose. Black folks, stop fucking with white folks. That's how hard you gotta make that segregation. Just stop. Let them exist by themselves. But some of y'all are too weak to do that. Lynching was most prevalent in the South. As you see where I am. And for those who don't understand how strong and vibrant my energy is, that's because I was birthed. My essence was birthed in this place that sprouted out many black warriors. Because when you hear their origins, they're gonna name this same land that I'm standing on right now. So for any of you funny niggas who wanna hate on the South, but you wanna talk about some warrior shit, you better slow your roll. So now, after the Civil War, there was violent resistance to equal rights for African Americans, and the ideology of white supremacy led to violent abuse of racial minorities and decades of political, social, and economic exploitation. Meaning, they did the okie doke. White folks are the lesser. So they have to keep you in a lesser or dominant, under them, submissive position, just so they can look good. Like I said before, you can't even be equal for them to shine. You have every race in totality have to be less than themselves for white folks to even attempt to look like they looking good. So hell yeah, they gonna be violent abuse in the name of white supremacy. Shit, I'm surprised it wasn't violent abuse just for white equality, because they are not your equals. And if you think they're your equals, well, goddamn, that's you. Lynchings became the most public and notorious form of terror and subordination. Like I said, get in your place. White mobs were usually permitted to engage in racial terror and brutal violence with impunity. Whoever hold bank, hold the law. What's that? When you got dice, you got bank, you can do what you do? Well, they holding bank. That's why you gotta stop messing with white folks, so you can hold bank. Many black people were pulled out of jails or given over to mobs by law enforcement officials who were legally required to protect them. Like I told you before, police officers' job is not to protect you. Their job is to protect property. And you are not property. In the eyes of white folks, you are less than property. That's why they shoot you for nothing. My man got choked out for cigarettes, because cigarettes is the property. We don't even need to go along the road of thievery, so-called thievery, and the death of black folks. But then white folks do some outrageous crazy shit. Grand larceny. Great grand larceny. Nothing. Please don't do that. That's why you need to... Man, listen, I can't say that enough. That means stop messing with white folks. 100%. If you got a black town, keep it 100% black. If you got a black city, keep it 100% black. But a lot of y'all done lost your mind, and y'all think the inclusion of white folks is to your betterment. Those who are strong enough to keep it black, keep it black. Even if you gotta endure the foul ones amongst you in control, because we're gonna get them in order too. Terror lynchings often included burning and mutilation, sometimes in front of crowds numbering in the thousands, because they look forward to seeing your black ass burn. In the thousands. That's what the sign's saying. You seen my brother who be showing all the pictures? In the thousands. And you niggas is still trying to hug up on white folks? Man, listen. The thousands. And we know the mutilation. It's the 3-piece. Hang you, burn you, shoot you. The first one should have you outrageous. The second one should have you ready to decapitate on sight any white person that's disrespecting black folks. And then the last one is just insult to injury. And they doing this to men, women, and children. And you niggas say you out here, you care about your children, you're liars. Because they still hanging, burning, and shooting them today. Just in a different form. They still end up dead at the end of the day. You niggas is weak and whack. You niggas deserve to get burnt, mutilated again. Some of y'all. Many of the names of lynching victims were not recorded and will never be known. So to my unknown brother who died at the hands of white folks bullshit, I stand strong to resurrect your energy. And I shall disperse it amongst those other blacks who are strong enough to withhold your energy, uphold your energy, uphold the fact that you were disrespected in the worst way possible and left to be dead. I will not let it slide. But over 300 documented lynchings took place in Alabama alone. Jefferson County had the highest number in Alabama, 29, and the 9th highest total lynchings in the nation during this era of terror lynchings. Like I said, terror lynchings, because we need to call it what it is. Terror. You know what I'm saying? Just like the education is a terror education, because it's teaching you to be subservient to your enemy, your active enemy, to this very day. It ain't like the white folks have said my bad and called it a rap. They still on the bullshit. And the classroom proves it because of the bad information, the liar information, and the usurping of your own people who did good works as powerful people. White folks are nothing, so they gotta take your people and say they were white folks. Man, the hell with white folks. Lynchings in America. Not all of them was physical. in 2016, niggas is getting lynched every day because they step up to say something and be strong, and then they get cut off at the knees, and sometimes by their own people who are too weak to stand up, so they're gonna shoot in the foot somebody else who is. Bitch ass niggas. You know I had to say it. Bitch ass niggas. We don't play this no more. UrsaMaat Naga, the power of natural law and balance. Niggas, all day niggas. Until in the world ain't nothing left but niggas.